The hit 1970s TV show The $6 Million Man, featuring Steve Austin, played by Lee Majors, we find the world's first bionic or mostly robotic man. After Steve Austin's maiden crash, Oscar Goldman famously stated, "Gentlemen, we can rebuild him. We have the technology." Although impossible nearly 40 years ago, the dreams of a hit TV show producer are now a reality. My name is Daniel Craig, a senior representing Ellis County for the District 8 in the Open Division, and the title of my speech is Robotics, the Future of Prosthetics. It is my goal to show you the technological advances achieved in the prosthetic industry, where the prosthetic industry is headed, and what you can do to prepare this industry for future generations. Perhaps the most familiar type of prosthetic is that of the prosthetic leg itself. You might remember the classic Pirate's Peg leg, which is worn by Captain Barbossa in Pirates of the Caribbean, or the famous blade-running legs of Oscar Pistorius in the 2012 Summer Olympics. Both legs are similar in the fact that they are a single-use prosthetic, but the blade-running legs of Oscar Pistorius are unique in the fact that the C-shaped ankle expands and contracts when pressed against the ground.
Why?
These smart legs allow Mr. Pistorius to exactly mimic the gait of a sprinter. However, Mr. Pistorius has to be careful, because if he ever to stop moving, he would roll back on his blades and fall backwards. The first advanced form of prosthetic leg available to us today is a C-leg prosthetic, produced by Autoblock Healthcare Industries. The C-leg incorporates a computer microprocessor, hydraulics, and motion sensors in order to predict the intended movement of the user, allowing them to walk or jog normally. The C-leg has several components. It has a carbon fiber socket, a plug which regulates the flow the motor swing to walk to run, another plug which regulates the flow of fluids to hydraulic components, allowing for terrain changes such as walking up hills or down stairs. It has a 48-hour battery, which is essential to prosthetic users who only used to be able to use their prosthetic for 30 minutes and hour-long segments at a time, and a shock-absorbing foot to handle terrain changes.
Bring it back and forth.
The first and most advanced type of prosthetic that we have available to us today is a neurologically controlled prosthetic. This is Zach Valter climbing the 103-story Willis Tower, formerly the Sears Tower in Chicago. The truly amazing thing about this climb is that Mr. Pistorius is climbing by thought, rather than forcing the leg to swing as the C-leg would. Neuroscientists and doctors have found a way to connect the nerve endings in the amputated leg to the prosthetic. Thus, whenever the brain sends an electronic impulse or message to the nerve endings in the amputated leg, is then transmitted to the prosthetic leg. Therefore, by merely thinking, Mr. Valter can transform that into an action. Drawing its inspiration from Captain Hook's hook or Luke Skywalker's arm from Star Wars, the prosthetic arms of today have transformed the lives of millions of people around the world. However, when prosthetic arms first started out in the Middle Ages, they were much like Captain Hook's hook, in the fact that they're a single-use prosthetic.
Were you sure that's what he was doing?
Doctors used to simply attach a staff to the arm of an amputee to allow them to hurt sheep, or a simple arm that allowed them to pick up a cup and take a drink of water. The idea was always there, but technology hasn't caught up until recently. Since 2007, colleges and universities have created a prosthetic arm inspired by the Luke's arm from Star Wars. This prosthetic arm has several key components. It has rotator cuffs, which allows the arm to rotate, servo motors, which allow for the full rotation of the arm. It has a computer microprocessor, or a touch and sensitivity sensor, which allows the user to pick up a grape or an egg without crushing them, and a computer microprocessor, which reads the electronic impulse or message from the brain to the nerve ending in the shoulder, and then to the computer microprocessor. This is Randy Campbell, who lost his arm 7 years ago in the Iraqi War, and for the first time in 7 years, able to pick up a power drill and screw into a board because of his neurologically controlled prosthetic arm. Famous for his prosthetic left eye that he used as a telescope, Steve Austin is a source of inspiration for those in the field of prosthetics eyes. However, prosthetic eyes had a more humble beginnings. In the Middle Ages, people would simply draw or commission artists to paint the design of the human eye onto a cloth or wooden prosthetic. Today, people have glass eyes, which allow them to appear fully functional and almost exactly mimic the human eyeball. In 2006, there was a breakthrough when a college found a way to improve damaged eyesight. Now, doctors will take this neurologically controlled implant and place it behind the eye connected to the optic nerve, thus improving electronic communication between the eye and the brain, and therefore creating a more perceivable image. Tony Stark and Iron Man opened the eyes of the world to the many use of the human exoskeleton for paralyzed users. You might remember Christopher Reeve, the original Superman, who was paralyzed and quadriplegic after a horse accident. Now, Mr. Reeve's dreams are reality. This is a predictive human exoskeleton for paralyzed users. Incorporating motion sensors, hydraulics, and computer processor, this predictive human exoskeleton can predict the intended movement of the user by the simple tilt of the upper body or torso. This exoskeleton enables almost normal bodily function for paralyzed users, incorporates motion sensors and hydraulics, and its current battery power lasts all day. In the field of neuroscience, Duke University's Miguel Nicolis currently has the lower half of the neurological exoskeleton for paralyzed users. However, colleges and universities are currently perfecting methods to connect this exoskeleton to the nerves around the spinal cord or those on top of the head. The reason for the sudden increase in innovation within the field of prosthetics is because severe disability is on the rise in the United States. According to the United States Census Bureau in its Americans with Disabilities Report, in 1995 we only had 25.9 million Americans who were severely disabled. In 2010, we had 38.3 million Americans who are severely disabled. That's an increase of 18 million Americans who are severely disabled, mostly due to diabetes and our wars overseas. The reason for this, despite the demand, rising demand for prosthetics, innovations within this industry will halt unless American high school students improve their math and science scores and pursue college degrees in math and science majors in order to replace the retiring baby boomers in this field. According to Georgetown University, only 31% of American high school students are even interested in science, technology, engineering, and math-related degrees. And out of those, only 17% are even proficient enough to pursue STEM-related degrees. One way you can make a difference is to join 4-H in its Science and Technology initiative, namely 4-H Lego Robotics. Designed to educate and excite 4-H adults and youth about science and technology, 4-H Lego Robotics teaches computer programming, integrates design techniques, teaches the scientific method, and inspires youth through challenges and friendly competition. Prosthetics has enabled millions of people around the world to truly live again. However, increasing demand for these innovations requires math and science proficient students and a career interest in the robotics industry and your support of 4-H programs to generate interest in science and technology. My resources for this speech was the Autoblock Healthcare Industries in articles and product information on the CLA, Duke University's Miguel Nicolis, the United States Census Bureau and its Americans with Disabilities Report from 1995, 2000, 2005, and 2010. Georgetown University's projections on job growth and education requirements for 2018. And Texas 4-H Robotics, found at 4h.org/curriculum/robotics. We are within reach of the $6 million man. We need only to inspire the next generation. 4-H has it right. 1 million new scientists, 1 million new ideas. Are there any questions?
Probably like